Hello everyone, my name is Tim Skinner and I teach clarinet at Westfield State University. I'm here to talk to you today about this year's Senior District audition material. We'll go over a few helpful tips on the scene and air from Louisa de Montfort, as well as a quick conversation about scales and sight reading. So let's go ahead and get started. The Scene and Air by Bergson borrows themes from his opera Louisa de Montfort. If you've ever listened to or watched an opera, you know that there is a lot of drama and emotional energy wrapped up in this genre. So our goal here is to be as much of a diva as we possibly can. Take any opportunity to really sing through your clarinet. Now, there are three terms we should take note of at the very beginning: lento, con espressivo, and recitativo. Lento you've probably heard before from your band or orchestra teacher. It means slow. So we are going to make sure we really take our time in all of these solos at the beginning. The next term, con espressivo, which is abbreviated on our sheet music, means with expression. This is how we tap into the operatic nature of the piece. Finally, we have recitativo. Recitative is a musical device used in opera to deliver dialogue. It involves a singer adapting the rhythm of the music to serve the words so it sounds freer and more conversational. So we want to make sure all of our phrases have an almost improvised quality to them. Here is an example of how you can shape some of these phrases in the opening 3 lines. Let's skip ahead now to the coda at the very end of the piece. It's a lot of notes. It can be a bit intimidating, but I would encourage you to just take it one measure at a time and go super slow when first learning the patterns. When it comes to articulating rapid, repeated notes, us clarinetists often think a lot about what the tongue is doing, but not an awful lot about what the air is doing. Believe it or not, tonguing on the clarinet is 90% air and only 10% tongue. Most of the work should be coming from the core, and our tongue should move just a fraction of an inch forward and back to touch that reed. So we are going to think about our air direction in this section and let the notes just ride along our airstream. Try this. Instead of just playing the repeated staccato notes as fast as possible, think about moving towards a destination. I like to aim for the first note in each group of 16th notes. E and a 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4. Always driving towards the next big beat. Here is what it sounds like when playing slowly. And now, I'll do it again at a faster tempo. Notice how, even though I am thinking about that air direction, it's not very noticeable in the sound. It just sounds light and effortless. This idea can be applied to the entire coda section. Remember to take your time on the fermata in the second to last line and use a lot of healthy air all the way through the final note. And don't forget to have fun with it. Now that we have gone over a few things in the solo piece, let's talk about scales. Scales, in theory, aren't the most difficult thing in the world. Often, it's just a matter of lots of repetitions so that the patterns stick in your muscle memory. This really only works if your mind is engaged while you are performing these repetitions. If you are one of those people who can stay focused while repeating the same thing over and over, you are going to have no problem with this. I am not one of those people, so I have to find fun and interesting ways to play the same patterns many times without getting bored and going on autopilot. One of the things I like to do with my scales, or any technical pattern for that matter, is change up the note groupings. Most of the time we group in 2s and 4s because of how 8th notes and 16th notes are written. Try 3s or even 5s if you want to change it up. I also like to manipulate the rhythms a bit and combine longer and shorter note durations. Here are a few examples of how you can alter your scales for practice purposes. But what about that pesky chromatic scale? Whenever I am working with my students on the chromatic scale, I have them learn it one measure at a time. There are so many unique chromatic fingerings that it can be a bit overwhelming if we try to play the whole thing straight through. Try moving through each measure forwards and backwards slowly so that your fingers get used to the new patterns. Something like this. And now, for everyone's favorite, sight reading. There really aren't any quick fixes for this one. The best thing to do is just find something new each day and attempt to play through it without stopping. I'm sure each of your band teachers has talked to you about sight reading and what to look for, such as time signature, key signature, tempo, etc. There are also really great tips from my colleagues in the other videos in this series, so you should definitely check those out. Just practice playing straight through new material without stopping. And don't forget to go slower than you think you need to. We are much more likely to perform everything on the page when we give ourselves extra time to read all the information. One final thing. My biggest tip to each of you is to perform your audition material for as many people as you can before the big day. Auditions are stressful. When I'm preparing for an audition, I try to find friends, family members, fellow musicians, or anyone who is around who will sit down and listen. The only way to get used to being nervous while playing is to expose yourself to it many times. It will be scary at first, but eventually it gets easier. And when you finally do walk into that room to play your audition, it will be much less of a shock, and all of that hard work you've done will shine through. Just remember, the judges are interested in what you can do, not what you cannot do. So don't worry about the things you missed, just play and show us who you are. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you learned something new and that this helps you on your clarinet journey. Best of luck and have fun with the music.